Evening, everyone. We'll bring the November 8th City Council meeting to order. Please rise for our pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. First item tonight is item 4A, Delinquent Utility Public Hearing. Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. East Bethel Code of Ordinances, Chapter 74, Section 74, 126B, provides for the collection of delinquent accounts through the property tax assessments. This ordinance provides the opportunity for property owners that are delinquent in payments to the city for utility service to come before City Council and state their objections. This public hearing meets the requirements of the ordinance. The public hearing must be conducted before the final certification of delinquent amounts is forwarded to the county for collection with 2022 property taxes. Council set tonight, November 8th, 2021, as the public hearing date for individuals wishing to object to delinquent charges being collected through the assessment process. All affected property owners were notified via U.S. mail and were instructed to contact staff if they intended to speak before the City Council. No affected property owners contacted staff. The final list of properties with delinquent charges must be provided to the county auditor no later than November the 30th, 2021. Staff requests that council conduct a public hearing for delinquent utility charges for collection on the 2022 property taxes. At the conclusion of the hearing, if there is no evidence or statements that support the modification of the assessment list, the council is requested to approve Resolution 2021-75 as a final certification for delinquent utility charges for collection with 2022 property taxes.
Thank you, Jack. With that, we'll open the public hearing for delinquent utility charges for collection on the 2022 property taxes. Is there anyone here tonight here to speak on this matter to council? With seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion on the resolution tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-75, a final certificate for delinquent utility charges for collection with 2022 property taxes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion.
I have a couple of comments. First, how come there's a certification charge? Who comes up with that?
Anoka County, that's what they charge us to do the handling of the claim and put it on their property tax statement.
And what about the interest charge of 18%?
That's what we've traditionally charged since I've been here and before I came.
So, and who does that money go to? The city?
The city.
I just think it's extremely high, and I think that the city is, the staff, all the staff are getting paid taxpayer money anyways, and I don't think 18% interest charge is really necessary. I think a lot of these people who aren't paying for a reason, whether they can't afford it or whatever, and I think this extra charge is an additional undue hardship to the residents. That's my personal opinion, which is why I wouldn't vote for this. My other comment is, this said nobody has contacted staff, so you don't know why any of them are delinquent?
No, none of them contacted staff to speak, and traditionally this list stays about the same each year. There's a lot of people that don't pay their water bills and just have it assessed to their taxes, and then they pay it off twice a year the following year. It's a pattern that's been repeated for years and years.
How many of these do you think are repeat?
I haven't double checked back, but I'd say that there could be half of these that are repeat.
Okay.
Now, again, though, some of these change, so it's not, this isn't unusual for this, and we do find a lot of people that don't pay their water bills through the year, and they just let it be assessed on their taxes.
I mean, some of these addresses do look familiar.
Yeah.
I hope these folks realize just how much that's costing them
Yeah.
to pay for that way, so,
It's much more expensive.
yeah.
So, and they're all in one area too. Is that a coincidence or is there an issue in that area?
The water rates are higher in, in the Whispering Aspens development, mainly because the costs for that system are still being paid down. Those rates have been reduced somewhat through the years, and there hasn't been an increase in those rates since, I believe, 2009 or 2010. But again, it's just a pattern that happens, and it's specific to that area. And it's the only real residential section we've had until Viking Preserve opened that we're serving with water.
There's a large disparity between how much some of them are. I mean, $200 to $1,000. So have some of them been paying partially and for some of the payments and just missed some? Or is this for like the whole year, for all of them? I'm a little confused at the disparity in these monies.
I would have to look that up. Some of the lesser ones, it probably means that they haven't paid for 2 or 3 months. The higher ones could be that they haven't paid for the whole year. But some of them, there's been some range of payments made through the process.
Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. And 4.2, delinquent citation fines, public hearing.
East Bethel Code of Ordinance, Sections 2-17C2, provides for the collection of delinquent fines through the property tax assessments. The ordinance provides the opportunity for property owners that are delinquent in the payments to the city for unpaid code enforcement citations to come before the city to state their objections. The public hearing meets the requirements of the ordinance. The public hearing must be conducted before the final certification of delinquent citations is forwarded to the county for collection of property taxes. Council set tonight, November 8th, 2021, as the public hearing date for individuals wishing to object to the delinquent charges being collected through the assessment process. All affected property owners were notified via U.S. mail and were instructed to contact staff if they intended to speak before City Council. No affected property owners have contacted staff. Amounts remaining unpaid by November 15th, 2021 will be certified to the county auditor for collection on 2022 property taxes. The final list of properties with delinquent charges must be provided to the county auditor no later than November 30th, 2021. Staff requests that council conduct a public hearing for delinquent code enforcement fines for collection on the 2022 property taxes. At the conclusion of the hearing, if there is no evidence or statements that support the modification of the assessment list, council is requested to approve Resolution 2021-76, final certification for code enforcement fines for collections with 2022 property taxes.
Okay, with that, we'll open a public hearing for delinquent code enforcement fines for collection on the 2022 property taxes. Are there any persons here tonight wishing to talk to council on this item? If you can come to the podium, please. If you could state your name and address for record, please.
My name is Don Wargen. My address is 324 Dogwood Road.
Okay, can you pull that microphone up towards you a little more too? Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm here to show that I don't own a vehicle that's 20,000 pounds. I don't have any inoperable vehicles. And I want to know what the junk is on my property that I'm supposed to remove. There's a cabin there, and he wants me to take everything off of there.
Jack, which item on this list is this property?
This is the,
And there's a camper. I had a mobile home there for 28 years.
this
Ever
is,
since
Okay,
I've
one
owned
second,
this.
one second.
this is 324 Dogwood.
We don't have addresses
have
on our,
We just got the
it's all
PIN
redacted.
number. What's the PIN?
Okay. This is 324 Dogwood, Donald Origins. The PIN number is 363323240348. It's the
The
next to
second
the
to last
last one on the list.
And what's this, what were the citations for on this?
Is, Nick, you wanna come up here and,
We just want to get some background. Evening, Nick.
Evening. Nick Schmitz, building official, code enforcement officer for the city of East Bethel. On this property, there used to be a house on it, with the homeowner torn it down years ago. And so the yard is supposed to be just a vacant property. There's no principal structure on it. The property owner has been bringing in vehicles and structures, sheds and temporary sheds and all kinds of stuff on the property. He filled it up with I don't know, a bunch of stuff. Some of it, you know, it looks like it's nice stuff, antique stuff, but the yard is full. I know we have pictures of that.
Well, I've only got 4 vehicles, not 5, on the property at any time. If there's other vehicles there, they're not mine. I have friends that come over all the time. And I finally moved the motorhome. I thought that would make them happy. But it only and I put some shed up. They're importable ones to put stuff in. So he quit complaining and whining and crying about stuff. Now I got 3 citations to take everything down. The cabin that was there has always been there. It was there when I bought the place. I have not put any permanents or wooden structures on it. I have not built a thing on there. I put 2 round top tents to put stuff underneath, the boat and the snowmobile and stuff like that. That was the extra items he's whining or crying about.
Do we have pictures?
just go over the citations that were issued on this, the code enforcement violations.
So what specifically are the citations for?
All right.
I never owned a 20,000-pound vehicle. That's one of them. I got a picture to show you 18,000 pounds right on the door.
All right, citations were for, let's see here.
And I cleaned it up every time I got it.
Sir, can let's,
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Yes. Well, we've got public nuisance, chapter 26. Nuisance, well, we do have anything from junk vehicles, parking, storage of unlicensed vehicles. That is mainly what he has going on there, but he does have temporary structures. Let's see what else here. Oh, there you go, thank you. Okay, at one time, he had the camper there, and we've had complaints that he was living there, but no longer. The camper's out of there. Let's see. We do have down debris and or junk. There's stuff all over the property. What the stuff is, I really couldn't tell you. I took pictures, but he's got so much stuff on there. Would I actually have to look at the pictures. From motorcycle parts, tires, he's got all kinds of stuff throughout the property.
okay.
Vehicles, again, inoperable vehicles. I guess, I don't know if they run or not, but they've been sitting there for a long time. He's got a big cube van, commercial truck. These are all things he has been bringing onto the property. We've had complaints from neighbors at this residential property. He's just storing a bunch of people's stuff on it. I'm not sure if they're his stuff or other people's.
Okay. I just wanted to understand it. I mean, this is a hearing about the delinquent payments for the citation. It's not a hearing about the citation itself. Was there a hearing on this? I mean, was there?
No, he's never contacted me.
I'm
Or the
never
city
home.
wants.
I'm never there hardly.
So
I'm in and out mostly.
So is this matter resolved at all? Or
No.
Well, it
Okay.
said on it, if I pay it, I'm guilty of this stuff. I have not been guilty of anything yet. I don't understand what he considers trash, garbage.
Have you met with staff about your issues?
No,
Have
I
you
haven't
tried
been
to?
around, well, I haven't been here. I'm gone sometimes for a month at a time. And he sent one issue, or one warrant over, or whatever, one thing, with a police officer. The police officer called me, I'm getting on a boat in Seattle. So he brought it back and told him that, and he sends it anyways. And I'm supposed to have the yard cleared off in 2 weeks or something like that. I didn't even get back until the thing was expired. I get these things, I'm not even there.
So when were the citations issued?
When were they issued? Let me take a look here.
There's some months I'm only there 3 days.
First citation was issued August 16th of 2021.
So these are recent.
Yes.
And I started cleaning up the yard when I'm there.
The second citation was issued September 29th of 2021. And the third issue, let's see. For some reason, let's see here. Oh, that's not his.
I believe there's only two.
It was issued since, I imagine.
October.
Well, is it only two? Because it's only $150.
Yeah,
He
that's.
gave me the
That
third
is
only
one
two.
too.
ones in here, that's-
Okay.
He gave me one,
So-
two, and the third one.
What, just for understanding, when is a citation fine delinquent? I mean, you give them opportunities to pay the citation?
That's correct.
And how much time do they get to?
Before their next inspection. Usually the next inspections are about 3 weeks apart.
Okay.
Sometimes more. I think I've extended his once. I can't remember the details anymore, but they're usually 3 to 4 weeks apart.
Okay, this seems to be on our list for delinquent citations pretty quickly since it just happened, but,
And it was, the cutoff date for certifying the delinquent citations was September the 30th. So these occurred prior to that. They'd been issued and unpaid. Probably there was about 6 or 7 weeks
Okay.
between the issuance of the first citation and that date.
Well, I wasn't guilty, so I didn't pay him.
right, but you didn't,
Every vehicle
you just
moved.
sort
I
of,
had
in a
one.
way, ignored them because,
Yeah, well, I'm not there.
well, you
How
had an
can I do
opportunity to
something?
contact staff though, right?
Well, yeah, but if I'm not there for 30 days and it gives me 15 days to do this stuff, how can I contact somebody?
Did you call them?
No, I was home after the citation expired. Why call? What am I gonna do then? I just didn't pay it. It says if you pay, you admit to guilt,
There
right?
was there was a person, a young man on his property one time at one of my inspections, and I was taking pictures of the property like we always do when we're doing an inspection. And he came out, wanted to know why I was taking pictures, and I explained it to him. I talked to him for probably 15 or 20 minutes, and I told the person that was there, he wouldn't give me his name, which was fine. But I told him, have the property owner call me. I said, you know, the city is more than happy to work with them. We want to see progress, and we'd like to see, you know, the city is more than happy to work with you. But when you don't contact us, what are we, you know, I can't contact him.
Well, you're here tonight.
Yeah.
Do you have an interest in working with staff to resolve these issues?
Well, I can work with staff to resolve it,
So we can table this aspect of if we wish, so that,
but I'm
So-
not paying fines that I'm not guilty of. I
I-
have
I-
one unlicensed vehicle on there, but it
why don't we take
moves.
one step at a time? Why don't you
Yeah.
meet with Nick and figure out what we can resolve? And start there, and then we're not worried about collecting fines right now, we'd rather have the issues resolved than collect fines, so. Okay?
Alright, okay, that's
So I'll
fine.
leave it up to you to contact Nick. So
I'll
you have,
contact
you have his
him,
number,
'cause
right?
I was supposed to be gone here. I wasn't even supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be gone for another month. I got a cruise on December 12th. I'm gonna be in
Well, you're here
Christmas.
tonight. I assume you're here tomorrow. Nick will be here tomorrow.
Okay, well,
Give him a call in the morning.
all right, I'll try to call him tomorrow, because I'm leaving it as soon as I get it in
It-
the morning.
That's,
I'll call you in the morning on my way out of town.
Thank you.
Go on.
all right.
And you have his contact, you have his contact information?
No, I'll get it from,
Yeah.
I'll go get a card out the door.
There's, you can grab a card up front, so. All right?
Yeah, but I'm not, I just don't enjoy being cited for stuff that ain't true.
Again, let's see what you can resolve first, and then hopefully you don't have to come back to council.
I'll show you the 18,000 pounds right on the side of it. Right here now.
You can,
And I showed him that it moved from one side of the lot to the other side. Is that correct or not?
sir, we're not gonna
Well, I just
argue
asked
stuff.
him.
We got a room full of folks,
All right,
Just
well,
dying to talk to
wanted
us, so.
Make sure that he knows it was not 20,000 pounds.
okay, there you go.
I would like to make it clear that the city, we do work with the property owners and the homeowners. The last thing we want to do is issue citations, but when they don't, obviously aren't doing anything or complying. I mean, that's what we want. We want compliance, and that's all we're working towards.
I'm wondering why I gotta remove all the building units, all capital stuff in here. Show them the pictures. You know, it was there from 20. Still got your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here tonight on this matter for the delinquent citations? Yes, come to the floor. You state your name and address, please.
My name is Julie DeWitt. I live at 22879 Staple Street Northeast in East Bethel.
Thank you.
First off, I would like to say to Nick that this harassment that has been going on with us is going to stop. Secondly, our things that first of all, I do have a permit for siding, which has not been completed because my husband is deemed disabled now, and I just filed for disability because I have breast cancer. And throughout, since May, since the day I had a second surgery, I have been called upon by the police department and asked when I'm going to be home to sign for some papers. Now, mind you, I go to therapy 3 days a week. I am incapable of doing any of this work aside from siding. I'm not to lift anything. I can barely do stairs. And now I'm supposed to start walking. Well, I don't know about that. But here's the other thing. I don't appreciate when your community service officer comes to my door after I just had a hysterectomy and I'm not to do stairs, and she was told that numerous times. That was the first round. And asked to leave, and that I cannot be doing the stairs. And she came back 4 times within a half an hour period. Are you kidding me?
Julie, can I ask you to pause for a moment? Can you give us some background on,
Can we show the pictures, Jack?
well,
wait just a
let's
minute.
start with what
Well, all
the
of a
issue,
sudden
what's
you
the
have
site.
pictures of
Ma'am,
our stuff,
ma'am,
but nobody else.
ma'am, we don't know what your issue is right now. We're trying to find that out first. Just,
Yeah, the background on this one, we have quite a bit going on. We have a large accessory building. It's like a temporary makeshift building
For
that doesn't
building
meet
materials.
setbacks. We also have vehicles way too many vehicles on the property, way over 5 vehicles parked throughout the property. There's a bunch of junk and debris in the yard, and they keep bringing stuff in. This property, we did take to court once, a couple years ago, and they cleaned
What
it
year
up.
was that?
And then what year was it?
Mhm.
I don't know off the top of my head.
And that court hearing cost us $1,000.
They finally cleaned it up, and then now it's worse than ever. And they built a
Now.
2-story shed in the back, and they have, it's just,
It's not a 2-story. It has 14-foot sidewalls, and it's less than the counted size to get a permit. Secondly,
I-
all the stuff that has been coming here, I'll tell you. When we took this permit out to do our siding, we decided to do the siding because when my husband built the house in '98, it was not inspected properly and there was stuff falling off. So therefore we did that. And then you got on us because we didn't get a permit. Well, you weren't open yet to the public to get a permit. And once you got in touch with me, I came right here and paid up for this permit. Now, mind you, the stuff that's coming here was in storage. Secondly, we can't have anybody help us. I'm not even supposed to be here. I don't want COVID. I don't want to get COVID. I don't put myself out there to get it. I don't go out anywhere. Doctor's appointments and to the store if I need to. That's it. That's all I do. And all of the stuff was in storage or on another job site, our camper, as a job trailer, which is another long story over in Bethel. All of these things we cannot afford. We can't afford this. I mean, this is so out of hand, and I have gotten the paperwork to file harassment charges against you guys and the police department because it has to stop. We cannot afford these things. We couldn't finish stuff because of COVID. We couldn't have people over. I had radiation treatments and everything. I was sleeping 14 hours a day. I couldn't have noise. And now I am so overly stressed that I have so many other things attributed to all of these surgeries that I've had for breast cancer that I can't function on a daily basis. And you're adding to the whole stress level.
can I speak?
Yes?
We are complaint-based as far as our ordinance violations. We've had several complaints about your property. And when someone calls in a complaint, we go out there and we take a look to see if the complaint's valid. If it's valid, we address it. That's what we do. And their complaints are valid.
Why are the cops coming over all the
Ex-
time?
Excuse me,
I'm talking.
go ahead, Nick.
That's my husband.
Sir, you're out of order, just,
You're out
our
of order.
discussion's here. Okay.
Why are they coming to my house constantly? I wanna know.
Sir,
Fucking with my wife. If it keeps up, you're gonna have more problems than that.
okay,
I cannot have this added stress. Literally, I'm surprised I haven't thrown up yet. But I can't deal with this right now. And we haven't been able to deal with this stuff, other than making sure our stuff is with us instead of somebody calling us my husband feverishly put up a fence so that it would be more aesthetically appealing for the moment. Everything is temporary. But with all this added stress, I don't want to get sick again. Okay?
Jack, which item on the list is this property?
This one,
I'll give you my number.
Excuse me, we don't have your addresses on our list.
I have my
It-
PIN number.
It's the top one
It's
on
the
the
top
list,
one.
0017.
No,
No.
yes, 0017.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, previously, I had talked to him on the road. And for some reason, he just didn't know who I was. And it was in front of my property. And he didn't recall. So maybe you should take better notes. I'm just done with the city. I've lived here over 20 years, and this is ridiculous. And no, we will not be like Woodbury. What do we got to put our trash cans in our garage too? I mean, Jesus. This is getting ridiculous.
Can I ask a question? Is the stuff the city is complaining about is a construction project type thing?
Yeah,
that
so
you have
walk
that
up-
kind of stuff out
You
there?
walk up to my door, and there's a whole pile of shingles. By the way, we were informed that we have to redo our roof. Gee, tell me something I don't know. But we planned on getting to that. But all of this stuff happened. I mean, I got the permit for the siding. The second I found out you were open, I came and paid with bells on. I mean, we can't afford food right now. Are you kidding me? I'm on the goddamn SNAP program. Let alone assess this and assess that and pay for this and pay for that. Come on.
You had the property cleaned up at one time after you guys went to court, and then all of a sudden,
That was years ago. Years ago. It was at least 2015. That's 6 years.
then just in the last
Year.
year,
You are
correct,
absolutely correct.
yep.
And what did I just explain?
And a bunch of stuff starts showing up all over your property.
What did I just
We started
explain?
getting more complaints, and
No, I tend to differ because I'm pretty sure they aren't complaints. It's you driving by, we have no trees, we're on the corner, and our property goes sideways, not back to front. And
that's not true.
Not to
That's
mention,
not true. We
there are-
have gotten complaints.
who else in the 55005 zip code is there? Because I saw your agenda tonight, and there are 6 people, and we're one of them. And we're the, one of 3 in the I'm sorry, only the ones in the 55005 zip code, but there are 2 in the 55011.
Okay. Julie, is
So
there anything?
I just want to know why we're getting picked on so hard when people across the street, I mean, I could name a whole bunch within a mile radius, and even there's a property right here that you're overlooking.
Can I address the property across the street? They cleaned up their property. It looks really nice. That
They put a
was an
fence
issue.
up.
No, they cleaned up.
They put a fence up.
They had all kinds of stuff throughout the yard. They cleaned it up. The property owners
They put
came
a
in
fence
here.
up.
Yeah, they did, but they cleaned up
And
the
they
site.
moved their camper within that fence.
They cleaned up the property.
Julie,
All of our junk piles that we claim, first of all, shakes to the house. Shingles. Shingles, there are actually two piles of shingles. There are trusses, which are for our up north property, which we have been unable to take up there. And the Kwanzaa hut / property that is hazardous or whatever you want to claim it,
I never called it
has
hazardous.
siding. Okay, well, you're calling our house hazardous.
I never called your house that either.
Oh, yes, you did, really.
Ma'am, this is getting out of the realm of why we're here.
Well, this
Okay.
is why I'm here. And the fee that is supposed to be addressed here. And these are the reasons why they haven't been accomplished. I can't even think straight. I still have fatigue from my radiation. I can't
Okay,
function on a daily basis.
Ju-
here.
Julie,
I
you're repeating things we've gone over.
Okay, but here's the
You've
other
provided
thing.
your
Has
testimony.
anybody offered any assistance?
Have you ever called me and talked to me
Does this-
about this?
I'm sorry.
I'm
I
serious.
spent 2 weeks in the hospital. I can't function on a daily basis. I have to focus on my health here. Are you kidding me?
Julie, please address council for the rest of this conversation, okay? You're here to provide testimony on a reason why we need to reconsider
But
your
here's my biggest
citation.
problem.
You've provided your information. Is there any additional information you'd like to provide to city council? That you haven't talked about.
I want to know why there has not been any assistance offered.
What do you mean?
Hey,
What-
do you need help with this? Can we offer you, maybe we can.
Did you ask for help?
Have you met with city?
I have not been,
Did you request an administrative hearing?
I only came here because I was forced to come here because I would have said something. I wasn't planning on coming, and for my health reasons, for one. For two, I got this other letter, some third citation. Now, mind you, I never got the first one.
Okay.
I got the second one, but I
Okay.
never got the first one. As a matter of fact, it was tried to be served to us the day I had surgery.
I am so sorry about all this, but if you received one notice,
A
in the
second notice.
in the notice, it does say that if you call, you may request an administrative hearing.
I was in the
And that's-
hospital for
I
2
realize
weeks.
that, but there is, that you've been through this before, once before, and I am so sorry for what you're
I
going
did
through.
not deal with any of it when,
When it happened before, you didn't deal with it?
no, I didn't.
Okay.
No, it got cleaned up.
The administrative hearing is where all of this comes out and they determine. At this point, we're just discussing the fines, whether or not the citations are valid. We're
Or-
Well,
past.
first of all, isn't there a protocol? You get the first one, and then you get the second one, and then you get a third one? Is that not,
It is true,
is
you're right.
that not
Yeah.
how it works?
Yeah, you were not accepting them, and we kept sending CSO officers out there to hand deliver them, and they said you were slamming the door in their face and you wouldn't accept
Oh, I
anything.
just did that the other day, as a matter of fact.
It-
And then not only that, I'm getting harassed drive-bys, and not only that, the CSO officer called my cell phone. First of all, I have no idea how in the world they got that number, because it's not registered to me. And second of all, we have a landline. And that's when he asked me when I was going to be home.
Julie, we're gonna need to cut this off, okay? We're going over and over the same thing.
We need this fixed. The way that things occur around here are wrong. The fees, I mean, you don't offer any assistance. I mean, not only that, did anybody even do a welfare check on me? No. I mean, if I'm not answering the door, which numerous times I haven't,
Julie?
I want to know how
We
this is a
don't have an answer, and this
community-
is not something that council would answer.
Okay, how is this a community if the community doesn't come together to help one another?
No, but that's not what we're here for tonight. I don't disagree with you, but it's not what we're here for right now. Okay?
I mean, there are plenty of people in need, and I tell you, we both had jobs and worked, and we paid our taxes, and now we're in the shitter. And I'm ill, and my husband can't work. I mean, this is just.
Jack, is there any way we can get them in contact with like the county for assistance or anything? Can we, cause I know the county's got us, oh, you have, okay, okay.
Why don't you waive the fees?
Okay.
Well, I was gonna say, why wait on a fee? Let you get your health back, you and your husband get your health back, and then, you know, if you can clean it up, and then I've got no problem waiving a fee.
I was outside the last.
But get your health back first.
Trying to get things that I can actually do or something, you know, I'm doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. I need, obviously, help. And we have no money, I mean, our intentions were to build a pole barn and do all of these things, but now we're kind of stuck here. So, if you could waive the fees, that would be greatly appreciated for the moment. Everything is temporary. I don't know what else to say. If I'm cancer-free, I won't be labeled as such until April of next year.
I think we understand where you're at right now.
Okay?
Okay? All right, thank you. Is anyone else here tonight on a delinquent? Remember, you're gonna have that discussion about your issues first, then we'll talk about citations, right? Yeah. Is there anyone else here tonight on this issue? Okay, we will close the delinquent code enforcement hearing then. Bring this to council. So we've had testimony on item 1 and item 5 on that list.
Actually, that's item 4 and 5. There's 2 of those that end in 00117.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mrs. DeWitt's address is on Staple Street.
Okay. How does council like to proceed?
I would make a motion to approve, see, resolution 2021-76, with the exclusion of PIN numbers 2833, 2323, 0017, in the amount of $400, and PIN number 3633, 2324, 0348, for those in the amount of $150 to be addressed in the future.
Brian, that first PIN number you mentioned should be 0433 23 12 0017.
That was
Okay.
Ms. DeWitt's.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, so making a correction, the first one will be PIN number 0433 23 12 0017 in the amount of $150. Would that be correct?
Yes.
So excluding those 2 PIN numbers to be addressed at a point in the future.
Okay, is there a second to that
I'll
motion?
second that.
Motion made and second, discussion.
Have any of the others that are on here contacted the city at all?
No.
No? Is there a way to get a synopsis of what they're for? Are they all for a similar, just junk on property, or?
Nick, how many complaints did they have on that last address? Just for my knowledge, I mean,
I would say, I know
On the
of at
Staples?
least
yeah,
2 to 3 different properties have
okay.
complained
I mean,
about
I have no problem waiving the fee. I'd like to see them get their health and then clean it up, you know. well, why, punish somebody like that, so.
Well, we're essentially tabling these two
Yeah,
items right
yeah.
now, so. Any other discussion? To the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. So get with staff, get with Nick, right? All right. Okay, item 4C, administrative hearing for motor vehicle repair home occupation.
Brock Viersba has requested an administrative appeal as provided by City Code, Section 2, 590, for a hearing before the council. The appeal is in regards to city staff's decision that Mr. Viersba's request to obtain an interim or conditional use permit to operate a motor vehicle repair business at 655 198th Avenue is not permissible per Appendix A zoning Section 4-9A. This business has been registered at this location since 2011. Mr. Viersba's property is 2.12 acres and is zoned rural residential. Motor vehicle repair is not listed as a permitted accessory, interim, or conditional use in the rural residential zone. As per Appendix A, Section 1.6B1, if a use is not specifically permitted in a zoning district, the use shall be considered prohibited. The city received 5 complaints from residents in the Cedar Brook and Wagland Woods neighborhoods concerning this activity over the past 4 months and issued Mr. Viersba a notice that his home occupation was an illegal use. Mr. Viersba is contesting the violation notice and the reading and interpretation of the city code as it applies to this situation. Mr. Viersba was informed by staff that they could not bring an application for an IUP or a CUP to the City Planning Commission, as a request is not allowed by city code and a permit cannot be issued for a prohibited use. Appendix A, Section 1.6B2 does give council the option of directing city staff to conduct a study to determine if a particular use complies with the comprehensive plan, in which zoning district, if any, the use is most appropriate, and which zoning provisions that may apply to the use. Currently, motor vehicle repair is only allowed in the light industrial zoning district and only as an accessory use to a permitted primary use. Staff recommends that City Council conduct the administrative hearing for Mr. Viersba's 655 198th Avenue Northeast. Upon conclusion of the hearing, if there is no evidence or statements that support Mr. Viersba's position, Council is requested the same staff's decision that no IUP or CUP can be issued for a motor vehicle operation for this address, and the current home occupation would have to cease operations.
Okay, with that, we'll open up the administrative hearing for Mr. Viersba. If you'd like to come forward, and it seems obvious, but state your name and address for
All right, I'm Mr. Viersba, Brock Viersba, 655 198th Avenue Northeast.
Okay, thank you.
I'm pretty nervous right now, you guys. This is, I have a lot of people here to support me right now, a lot of neighbors, friends, customers. This has been my job for the last 10 years, fixing people's cars, helping out neighbors with whatever they need. Stop by, you need this, you need that. Watch my dog, watch the neighborhood, whatever it is. So yeah, basically, I appreciate you guys taking the time to hear me out today. Hopefully in the end of this thing, the gavel drops and we have a little bit in our favor. And same for these guys too, that we have a little bit something in their favor as well. So, but we've been contributing members of East Bethel since 2008 when we moved in. And we've been local to the Nokia County our whole lives. We both grew up in Ham Lake. And we just couldn't wait to get to East Bethel after that. So you already know we've been running this business for over 10 years. This is how I feed my family. This is how Jim feeds his family. He's got a couple kids. We both have a couple kids. We're just normal people trying to make a living, and we've always kept it a priority to try to keep this place safe, clean, respectable business, and just keep it honestly and orderly, as clean as possible. We already knew that we were in the wrong going into this. We knew we couldn't operate out of our house without getting in trouble at some point. To make it 10 years is pretty freaking amazing, if you ask me, sorry. So I already know that we're in the wrong, so I'm really just asking for forgiveness at this point. We've established hundreds and hundreds of customers throughout Anoka County, and some people come as far as Lakeville to get their car serviced, you know what I mean? So it's not just, it's not really a small deal. Sorry. But yeah, I'm not your typical backyard mechanic. When you think of a house that someone's got an auto service at, you think of a couple stalls in their garage. They got junk everywhere outside, cars, motors, picked apart all over like that. You know, I brought with a couple pictures. I know you guys have some pictures on your file there that are from up in the air and whatever. That doesn't make me look as good as what these do, so I brought some better ones. But honestly, we try to keep this place as clean as possible. Like I said, we already knew we were in the wrong, so we try to do everything we can to keep it operating.
We got bad advice.
So, fully insured, we got a $2 million policy on the place. We file and pay our taxes every year, and we donate to multiple causes throughout every year. And as you can see, we have multiple supporters in our neighborhood. We provide our neighborhood with more than car repair. We keep an eye on things around the neighborhood. When we do a little test drive or something, we're looking out, we see a box fan in your driveway, I'm gonna call you. Well, why is there a box fan in your driveway? Is it supposed to be there? You know, I do that for all my neighbors. Sorry, I'm losing it. We're willing to discuss any requirements or changes that would need to be met in order to obtain our permit. So we can continue to live the American dream that we do. And if it's approved, you guys have an honest mechanic on your hands. Basically, we've had no complaints until now that I know of. 10 years, no complaints. We've always tried to keep it quiet. We got a little bit louder over the last couple of years. Mostly our couple of vehicles that we have that have a little bit louder exhaust. And so we were able to fix that up, quiet everything down there. And in all reality, I don't want to make any neighbors mad. You know, it sounds like we might have made a couple mad, but in all reality, we're just trying to do our thing and serve the people of this county and just make a living. So, and when I heard on the deal today there was 5 complaints, that's kind of news to me. I thought there was only 1, so I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that doesn't really matter at this time. We believe that if you guys will help allow it, that we can meet the city code requirements needed to obtain this interim use permit. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Jack, you said there was 5 complaints from neighbors?
Yes.
What were the complaints about?
That's the information that was reported to me when I did the staff report from Aaron McDermott. I think they were regarding appearance, and apparently there was one incident, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that there was a little girl that was almost hit by a delivery truck that was pulling into your driveway. This happened not too long ago. All right.
No.
So that's what brought staff's attention.
Correct.
So city didn't know about their business until now?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. That is impressive, so.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, my one goal is to keep that place as clean as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it looks very good according to the pictures, so I don't understand why anybody would be upset about it.
I'm sure it's.
I look across the street, I look outside my front of my house, I look at their house. I work from home all day long.
Let's do this, just to short circuit this a little bit. I assume many of you folks are here in support. If you're in support of these folks, just can you raise your hand? So there, that saved us about 2 hours, 2 hours of talking right there, if you don't mind.
We're mostly neighbors that live around by.
So.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who's
is there-
not in support?
Is there anyone here else that speaks that's not in support? Okay, so we got our flavor for the audience. Okay.
We feel like we know that there's one neighbor that we've kind of made mad. He's recently retired over the last year or 2, and I feel like he's home now and he's kind of like finding things to be mad about. But it's mostly the exhaust, and we've just absolutely.
Okay.
cleaned it up.
At least that was the only complaint we ever got told to us personally.
Okay.
But other than that, we've never had anybody approach us on that part of it. We do dispose of all of our hazardous waste via a company. So it's all collected and kept and disposed appropriately, as well as with all of our recycled materials, as far as metals, are all collected and brought to recycling center. We don't, we're not burying stuff in our yard. We're not, doing anything like that. It is our home as well, right? I don't want to live in a junkyard. So that's not where I want either. It is where we live and we spend all our time there as well. So we try really hard. Like I said, we are insured. we take care of all of our hazardous materials, we make sure that we pay our taxes, and we filed our taxes for the last 10 years. And, we give to charities, we try to help whenever we can, we try to offer a service that's affordable to people and be able to help them out and keep them on the road.
Okay.
Just trying to keep that going.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
I do want to say a little bit about the city code. So when they talked about it not being allowed because we were pretty much told that it's a no-go no matter what we say because it's an automotive repair business. And we're zoned RR. And so looking at the requirements on that it said, it is not permitted based on Appendix A, Section 1-6B1, as not specifically being permitted in that zoning district. So looking at our zoning district of RR, in Section 42, Appendix A zoning, Section 42 RR, it gives a list of all the permitted uses, which does not say auto repair. It says accessory uses, which does not talk about auto repair, nor does conditional, but when you get to interim uses, it says the following interim uses are permitted in the RR district with an interim use permit. A is home occupations, as regulated by Section 10, General Development Regulations. In Section 10, or in definitions in the Appendix A zoning under Section 1-9 in definitions, it defines home occupation as an occupation carried in or on a dwelling unit or accessory building by the resident, which is clearly secondary to the principal use. I suggest that we fit that home occupation definition,
Okay.
whether it's auto repair or not.
So let's get Stephanie's opinion on that, please. You had something in our packet on it, but can you talk about what's allowed and what's not?
Yeah, so my interpretation of the home occupation, and I thought that it's outlined in the regulations too, home occupations are for office uses, beauty salons, something that doesn't generate much traffic in the neighborhood.
So it's traffic was.
Yeah, and it's more, again, just office-based, like I said, taxes. We know a lot of people run their businesses out of their house, but they don't have clients coming there.
So is there a direct prohibition of auto uses?
There's a list of, mayor and council members, there's a list of criteria that home occupations must meet that's laid out in Section 10. We can go through them now if you'd like. Regardless of this, I think this decision tonight is whether or not they're allowed to apply for an interim use permit. If they're allowed to go forward with an application for an interim use permit, not only will these categorizations of home occupations need to be examined as part of that, then conditions will be placed on that interim use permit as well if they're allowed to go forward. Things to address, for example, not saying that this would be them, but mitigating noise, parking, storage of materials, maybe fencing, all of those things could be considered as part of it. Signage, there's some prohibitions on signage in the home occupation matter. And then also a determination that whatever is going on is clearly secondary to this being a residence. So all those things would need to be looked at the planning commission and then by the council as well.
I mean, I
But
live there.
there's nothing that specifically prohibits
No,
auto repair business.
there's nothing that specifically prohibits it so long as it meets the requirements of a home occupation as laid out in the code.
Okay.
And I do believe we can meet those requirements.
Yeah, we've looked through those multiple times now, and there's hardly even any gray area where we don't need it.
I think you probably got an argument, you've been doing it all along, that's why it's not very noticeable. So, I mean, as it's been mentioned, the place has been kept up, and that's why it stayed under the radar, so. The same token, I appreciate your honesty in knowing that you were taking risk and doing that, so.
And the same thing for, like you said, a hair salon. You're gonna generate more traffic with a hair salon than I'm gonna generate all day long.
Right.
That's a guarantee.
How many cars do you work on every day?
It might be 2 a day, it might be 4.
Yeah, that's
and with-
nothing.
Yeah, and with that, we test drive, and like I said, we go around, there's the big square. When we test drive, we generally will go around this square, sometimes leave the neighborhood, go out down here, come back around. And when we go around the square, I'm telling you, we look around. We keep keep our eye out for the neighbors. And
Neighborhood watch.
multiple years ago, I caught somebody stealing my mail, and I actually caught them.
And we were able to,
We were able to
police were able to get
We
them.
were able to get the police, like, I followed her, they came and
It was a
arrested her,
chase.
they had stuff to change checks and everything in their car, so I'm telling you, like, we keep our eye out every single day. We don't see everything, but it was pretty cool.
It's the best part of being in the police.
They said they don't catch them very often.
So, if council, agrees and states you can move forward with the IUP application, I think it'll probably be a more in-depth view on it.
Yes.
But, you know, there's an application fee with all that, and that's part of your risk, okay.
Yeah, we were just told we couldn't even attempt to apply for that because it wasn't allowed.
Okay. So I think, just to maybe perhaps keep this matter shorter, not talking about details about what's going on, but it's really then a question of whether council disagrees with staff that we can go forward with IUP.
I think they should be able to go forward. I think it's a good, honest business. And
Okay, let's do this. Let's close the administrative hearing at this point. Does council have a motion to go
I'll
forward?
make the motion to allow the residents at 655 198th Avenue to go forward with the IUP process.
Second.
Motion made in second, discussion.
I'm for it.
Just, because in the past, I think, as stated, we've never permitted
Would never.
Auto repair business as a home occupation.
And
Not that
would
I
understand
can,
No, I'm
all
not
your
aware of that.
concerns.
not that
would
I can
understand your
remember, so.
concerns on it.
So this may be a little process to go through, and, because the thing, council's always got to be worried about is setting precedent and how we go forward. I'll say right now, you're like the shining star of what expectation would be for home business, because you
That's what I
can't
would
tell
want
it's there.
from my neighbors.
Even though you have a very large pole building, which I envy,
Yeah.
but, you know, it's,
But it's
You-
long and narrow,
you-
and the
you-
fence
but
is
the-
there,
the
so you
place,
can't
the yard,
see
everything's
it.
kept
Yeah.
up, so it's a nice bottle, so, so we'll see how long that process takes, but,
So this will go back to planning then, correct?
They can apply for the IUP.
Once they
then
apply for the IUP,
they'll
and
go-
then
they'll go to
make
the
sure
planning
that
commission.
Yep, there'll be
the
a.
planning commission is explained, like city attorney said, that they can do it with certain stipulations,
Exception to the rule.
yeah.
well,
except, you know,
I think
no.
staff, you need to look at it
Yeah.
in depth before it even goes to planning, so.
Yes.
And,
Okay.
and I think we'd probably want an opinion from Chris to present to the planning commission.
Right,
too.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm getting at with that, so it may not follow that standard step, so.
It may take a little bit.
I understand however you gotta write it up, I get that, I wouldn't want
Yeah.
everybody and their brother having a shop at their house either, but I do appreciate the exception, and I'll make you guys proud.
So, what the best step for them, say, give staff a week and then set up a meeting about how to proceed?
Well, I think the
Yeah.
application's
Yeah.
gotta
The
come in
application's
first,
gotta go.
so.
Yeah, well, I
Well,
prefer them to sit down with staff first, so we can go over, what needs to be done, and then
Yeah,
turn in the
That,
application, yeah.
that'd give staff a week to research,
Correct.
give city attorney a week to research, and then you'll be educated on what steps to take moving
Yes.
forward.
You'll have Chris's opinion by then,
Okay.
maybe.
And we can probably anticipate noise and parking and outdoor storage to be
Zero
the chief and foremost issues,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
just so
yeah,
you're
yep,
aware.
Yep, totally, no problem, they're all.
Nobody ever has to park on the street. but-
So I will add, council is almost, for as long as I've been involved, supportive of home occupation businesses, and the idea being that, businesses start small and they grow.
Yes.
And when they grow to a certain size, that's time where you need to move to a commercial area.
And this has definitely opened up my eyes that I do need to do that, but I'm just not ready to do that
It was,
right now, if I can.
You're on that path, so
Right,
which is
yes.
good, but I'm just, because, having an employee is another thing that we'll talk about, because that's usually a trigger too for
Yep.
IUPs, so we gotta, but I'm just saying in general, you're following that, anticipated growth that, for businesses, so, which is good.
Thank you.
Any other discussion at council? Hearing none, to the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, the motion passes, so be in touch with staff. We may have to get a bigger room for the next time we meet, so. All right. All right.
Just ask a question quick. When you say, when these people are getting these complaints, is it all, or is there, these 5 complaints, are they coming from 5 different people, or is it?
We can't say,
Okay,
but they're formal complaints filed with the city, and we document the complaints. That's the process. Yeah, there's data practices concerns, with the complaints, so, yep.
I assume that's what it was, but just wanted to hear.
Yes. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made in second, discussion.
I'd like to pull item E and F, please.
Okay, and I'd like to pull items C and D. Any other discussion to the motion as modified? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item C is the public forum minutes for October 25th. Actually, item C and D, I wasn't in attendance, so I'm going to abstain, but on item C, on the first page of the minutes, it's titled Open Forum Minutes on the title, if that could be changed to public. And that's all I have for C and D. If someone can make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve C and D.
Second.
Motion made in second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I abstain. Suzanne, item E.
Item E, I just have a question for this wellhead protection JPA. Is there a cost involved in this? I didn't see anything. So I'm just wondering, is there going to be an overall cost to it, or a long-term cost, a short-term cost? It sounded, I read it, it sounded expensive, but I'm like, I don't see any money in there.
Excuse me.
There is no requirement for the city to participate in any of the programs. So each thing that comes up will come before council. In the years that they've had this JPA, they've never actually applied for anything. It's more of a time for them to get together and go over ideas with other cities. The initial group got together and used a contractor to do all their work for their wellhead protection plan. But for right now, it's more of, if we ever wanted to apply for a grant, we could do it all as one. All the cities in Nokia County could do it together. And Nokia County is the lead agency, but no, there is no requirement,
And no cost?
no cost up front. No.
Okay, thank you. I'll
Yep.
make a motion to approve item E on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made in second, discussion. Hearing none, to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Suzanne, item F.
Item F, that's the trunk highway service project pay estimate. Is that, it seemed less than what we originally talked about. So is it less or is it more?
The project budget on that was 6.2 million. Now we're at 5.5 million. There will be probably one other payment, so we should be definitely under budget.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve item F on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made in second, discussion. Hearing none, to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. On to item 6A, new business, variance request for 20434 Jewel Street, side yard setback.
Where did Steph?
We lost Stephanie. Stephanie.
She's doing some noise control.
Jack, can you switch that? Okay, so the first item on the agenda, is a variance request for the side yard setback, for the placement of a detached accessory structure at 20434 Jewel Street Northeast. And here we have the map where it's located. Property is zoned rural residential and is located in the Lundy addition. So just a little bit of a background on the property. So in October of 2017, there was a variance that was approved for a side yard reduction from 25 feet to 12 feet for the placement of a 800 square foot detached accessory structure. So if you look at the site plan, it's on the southern property line where it says detached garage. The garage hasn't been built yet, so it's just the slab that's there right now. In November of 2018, city staff received a code enforcement complaint regarding the placement of the 320 square foot shipping container on the property. Shipping containers aren't permitted by ordinance, and so notices were sent to the property owner, and they requested to keep the shipping container on the property until the completion of the detached accessory structure. So in September of 2020, the property owner was notified of the expiration of the detached accessory structure permit, of which only the foundation was completed. So in October of 2020, the property owner requested to work with the building official to convert the shipping container to a detached accessory structure that will comply with the city's architectural requirements. And here you have what they plan on doing. And at this time, I think they have all the siding done. They haven't put the roof on yet. There was no contact with the property owner until code enforcement efforts again in July of 2021, in which the property owners requested, excuse me, an administrative hearing, which was held on September 16th of 2021. So at this time, the owner is working with city staff to convert the shipping container into a structure that does comply with city code architectural requirements. And again, this is what it'll look like when it's said and done. So of the 26 properties located on this section of Jewel Street, there's 6 legal non-conforming detached accessory structures that are within the setback of 10 feet from the side yard. According to our property records, all 6 of the structures were legally constructed prior to the adoption of the ordinance that increased the side yard setback from 10 feet to 25 feet. So as you look at the slide, the right-hand side, you see the current location of the shipping container has the orange roof on it. The property owner intends to move the container to the setback of 12 feet, where the 12-foot would be where the purple rectangle is on there. They stated that moving the shipping container to meet the 25-foot setback would impede on the function of the backyard. Staff's received phone calls from 2 residents who expressed concern that the reduced setback does not meet the intent of the rural residential district, and a 12-foot setback is better suited for the R1 single-family district. Now, a little bit just recently, which today, actually right before this meeting, so I haven't been able to talk with the property owners on this, but it was brought to staff's attention that both the accessory structures will exceed the max square footage allowed for the detached accessory structures. So right now on that specific property, they can have 2,100 square feet of detached accessory structure. And staff added it up. The container is 320 square feet. The pad, which the garage will go on eventually, is 1,800 square feet. Therefore, at some point, they will need to decrease the footprint of the larger garage when they do put that up to 1,780 square feet. So they're going to have to decrease it by 20 square feet to meet city code requirements. So that's something that was just figured out. Consideration of variance requires a 3-factor test for practical difficulties. The first factor is reasonableness. They'd like to use their property in a practical way but cannot do so under the rules of the ordinance. So detached accessory structures are a reasonable use, so they can have that. Accessory structures are listed again in the rural residential zoning district, and the property owners would be able to meet the side yard setback. So the second factor is problems due to circumstances unique to the property and not caused by the landowner. Applicant responses were due to the shape of the lot being long and narrow. Putting an accessory structure 25 feet from the property line would limit the use and obstruct the view of the function of our backyard. They have been working with the city and have approved building plans for the structure, pending the approval of this variance. The uniqueness of the property is the shape and features around the home. They have a pond and wetland west of the structure. Their septic system is east of the proposed structure. And the detached garage that isn't built yet, but they have the variance for it, is south near the property line. Staff responses were applicant was granted a side yard setback variance in October of 2017, at which time they were aware of the 25-foot side yard setback requirement. The city was made aware of the shipping container that the applicant intends to convert into the detached accessory structure in November of 2018. While shipping containers are prohibited, the property owner's placement of the shipping container could have lessened the violation by meeting the side yard setback requirement. And then also up on the screen again, you'll see the impact of moving the shipping container to meet the setbacks. Based on the GIS measuring tool over the aerial photos, it's illustrated that the shipping container would still be within the fenced area and would not impede in the function of the backyard. Applicant's lot is 170 feet wide, which is consistent with all the 26 lots within the subdivision. The third factor is the variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Applicant stated that the placement of the accessory structure will not look out of place in the neighborhood. The neighbors to the north, who would be mostly affected, help them choose the site. Most all the lots in the neighborhood have the similar shape. And also a few of them have, again, those buildings that are closer than 25 feet to the property line. Staff does acknowledge that there's several legally non-conforming structures in the subdivision. The structures were built with the proper building permits during the time when city code side yard setbacks were 10 feet. The property has structures located on both sides of the yards that encroach in the setback. Property owner is aware of the 25-foot side yard setback as a southerly side yard variance was granted. So Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on April 26th of 2021. The property owner and many residents of the neighborhood attended the meeting, and the property owners do have support from their neighbors for the variance. The Planning Commissioners discussed the request and stated that while it did not meet the letter of the ordinance, it met the spirit of the ordinance and does not alter the character of the neighborhood, since there are other sheds set back 10 feet from the property line. Commissioners did recommend approval on a 6-0 vote. So at this time, Planning Commission recommends City Council approve the variance request to decrease the northerly side yard setback from 25 feet to 12 feet for the placement of the detached accessory structure. And if approved, staff recommends adding condition number 3 to the resolution of approval, that to comply with City Code Appendix A zoning, Section 14.4, the remaining detached accessory structure square footage allowed on the property is 1,780 square feet. And the property owners are here if you have any questions of them.
Okay, so there's 2 resolutions in our packet. One's drafted approving, one's drafted denying the variance. Is there a motion on this matter tonight?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the variance request for, is this 2021-79? That's the one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For a 13-foot variance request for a northerly side yard setback reduction from 25 feet to 12 feet for a property located at 20434 Jewel Street Northeast. Proper PID 24-33-23-21-0007, legally described as Lund Addition, Lot 6, Block 1, Lund Addition.
Second.
Motion been made in second. Discussion. Staff had recommended adding a 3rd condition.
I saw that, and I wanted to ask if we can make an exception to the rule for that 20 feet too. That seems like it's so minuscule, it doesn't make any sense.
I
to
agree,
me.
but we'd have to have a public hearing on it, because it's a variance. And it's not, it wasn't part of the application, so. It's not to say they could, that, you know, they couldn't reapply for that, so.
So they would have to make a new application? I'm confused.
They still, they haven't, for
We
the
can approve
building.
this and then they would have to come back, or we
Let
have
me
to
ask this,
table
the
this?
applicant's here tonight?
Yeah, they're here.
If you mind coming up? It might help answer some questions too. And I apologize, I don't have your name in front of me. You need to state your name and address.
Andrew Holland, 20434 Jewel Street Northeast.
Okay, great. So the 30 by 60 detached garage is just a slab. Is that permitted and ready to go?
The permit had expired.
It's expired, right? So it'd have
So
to
you
come
have
back
to
in?
reapply.
Right.
So they'd have to reapply, and at that point, they apply for a variance for that 20 feet.
But that's another $800. I'm sorry, but that's a lot of money to me. A variance application is $800.
You can talk to staff with that. I mean, it's a different matter, so I'm not sure when you're gonna come in for that building again anyway, so.
Right.
So, okay. So to answer your question, I'm sure Chris will say we can't do that tonight, so.
I would agree with Mayor Voss. It wasn't applied for, and it's an entirely different, different matter. It's a different part of, the code, and the only variance that's had a public hearing is before the council is the one related to the side yard setback.
Right, so.
So, in talking to Nick, he told me that the building permit would be approved pending the variance for the side yard setback.
The building permit for your,
And that information.
for the convox,
That, yeah,
right.
that information was all in that application.
Right, but you don't need you don't need a footage variance until you have the application in for your bigger detached garage.
Okay.
Because right now, you're not exceeding the criteria right now,
Right.
so.
But he also was aware of,
What's that?
I said he was aware of both structures when I talked to him.
Right, but it's not a structure right now, so it wouldn't be included in the, I mean, obviously, it's what you wanted to do. so-
Yes.
So, but we can't act on it tonight anyhow, so, but
Okay.
what regards that fee, it's something you can talk to staff about when you get to that
Is that
point.
something that can be waived or
It's
min-
possible.
minimized or?
We can't do it tonight, but.
Understood.
Yeah, I can talk to you tomorrow about it.
Sure.
Do you have any other
I
questions
think
on
in terms of that fee, a big part of that is escrow, which is refundable if not required to be used.
that? Okay.
Yeah, and I can discuss it with you tomorrow.
Okay.
What you're doing to change the shipping container is awesome. It's really, we've talked about that in the past, about being able to do that. I know in other areas of the country, they build entire buildings out of shipping containers.
Right.
But it's what you do with it after you get it. That's what you're gonna change here. My only concern on it, I was out there looking at today, is, so the view that's up here now, that faces your garden right now, right? The door and the windows,
Yes.
is the other side of it. It's 40 feet of blank wall
Mm-hmm.
that looks like a shipping container. And I'm not sure where our standards are. I know we are in commercial, but to me, what that side needs is windows.
Landscaping?
Well, I don't think you need to put the windows in. I think you just need to put some architectural detail to break up that long wall.
Right.
Because the biggest conflict we have with these containers is just the appearance they are in our residential neighborhoods. You're obviously gonna use this as a big shed, and when you're all done, it's not gonna look like a shipping container, which is great. Yeah, that's our idea. But if there's anything that can be added onto that, I guess the north side, just the frame, some windows that just, I've seen people doing it in garages too. The big garages, they'll just put a frame so it looks like
The
a
fake
window.
windows.
paint a window on there, something.
They put little window boxes and
Can that be
just wooden
discussed?
frame
Yeah,
it.
you basically just make it look like a window, so it breaks up the architecture. That's what our architectural standards try to do, is break up the monotony.
They do a lot of cross beams and just.
Yeah, there's different things, so. I don't know if that's something that we can require as part of our standards, but, that would go a long way. It really, it would be an example project of how others could do it too, so.
Please don't.
I know you're working with staff on it.
Our dead-end street doesn't want the traffic, so.
They're great uses though. They're dry, they're secure. I mean, they're good use, so. So that's my only comment on it, so. Is there any other discussion? Okay, to the motion, which is to approve, I do want to amend the motion though, to add item 3. Stephanie, can you make that statement again, what you wanted added?
Yeah, so condition number 3 would to be to comply with city code, appendix A zoning, section 14.4. The remaining detached accessory structure square footage allowed on the property is 1,780 square feet.
Is there a second to the motion, or motion to amend?
I'll make the motion to amend.
I made the motion to
You
amend.
made it. I'll
This is
second the motion.
Second. So the idea is just to memorialize that we talked about that discrepancy, so
One
we're all
structure
clear.
to the other.
So we're all clear,
We'll
so.
talk, yeah.
Any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none on the motion to amend, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion to amend passes. Now back to original motion as amended. Any further discussion?
I just want to say I was at the planning commission and his property is amazing and what he's doing with that shed is amazing. So I'm kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
Your creativity and talent is wonderful.
Appreciate it.
I'm anxious to see what it looks like when we're all done too, so.
Yeah.
It won't look like a shipping container, so.
It won't be a shipping container.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, to the motion as amended, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thanks for working with staff.
I just want to make one more comment. This is a perfect example of when people are willing to work with the city, something can be worked out.
Yeah.
You just have to talk to us and we'll try and figure it out. This is a perfect example.
I agree. Okay. Item 6A2, ordinance 2021-07 zoning map amendment.
So the requested action is to approve the zoning amendment to the City of East Bethel official zoning map. On October 18th of 2021, City Council approved the residential preliminary plat known as Anderson Meadows. The current property is zoned A agriculture, which is shown up on the map on the left-hand side, and must be rezoned to rural residential, which is the yellow part, for the plat to continue forward. The rezoning is consistent with surrounding properties. The rezoning request meets the requirements of the approved 2040 comprehensive plan. Rural residential zoning is appropriate for lands also designated as agricultural. There are no comprehensive plan changes required for this rezoning. Public hearing was held on October 26th of 2021 at the Planning Commission meeting. There were no public comments. The commissioners voted to approve this item on a 6-0 vote. So at this time, the commission recommends approval to the City Council for the zoning amendment to the City of East Bethel official zoning map known as Ordinance 2021-07.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-07, ordinance amending the zoning map.
I'll second it.
Motion made second, discussion.
These are all over 2 acres, right, or not?
That's correct, they are.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Very amenable crowd tonight. Sorry. Okay. On to item 7A1, Anderson Meadows final plat.
Mr. Strandlin is requesting the final plat to be approved for the plat known as Anderson Meadows. The developer is required to meet all conditions set forth in the resolution prior to filing the final plat with Anoka County. Park dedication fees have been calculated, which is based on 10% of the taxable land rate. Staff requests City Council to approve the final plat with the conditions set forth in the attached resolution.
Consider motion.
I'll make a motion for approval of resolution 2021-80, approving the final plat of Anderson Meadows.
Second.
Motion made, second discussion. Where does completion of the punch list items fit in? Is that part of the developer's agreement, or is that before final plat?
Yeah, typically it's part of the developer's agreement, and typically we hold an escrow in there or a letter of credit. And once those punch list items are completed, then we release that financial guarantee. So, for example, one that has been brought up is this Gia Street was extended to the north, and so we have the cul-de-sac. Well, on the cul-de-sac, you have the bubbles on the side. And so what will happen within the next couple months is city staff will vacate that right-of-way that's in the bubble, and then the developer will be responsible for restoring the bubble areas into their yard and their driveways and such. But typically, at this time of year, that won't be done until springtime, and that will be taken care of through the developer's agreement.
There's escrow for all that as well?
Yes.
Okay. And who does the vacation? We do the vacation?
Yep, yes,
Okay.
the city will.
Okay.
Was there something in your email, Stephanie? Is this the city attorney comments? Has that been
Yeah, that's for the next item
the
on the
next?
agenda.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, any further discussion on the final plat? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. 7A2, Developers Agreement, Anderson Meadows.
Developers agreements required as part of the approval of the Anderson Meadows plat, not as part of the approval of the plat, but it's part of the approval for the plat to be filed with Anoka County. So city staff is requesting city council to discuss the developers agreement. So a little bit before this meeting started, I was contacted by the city attorney in regards to the comments and changes to the developers agreement. My computer was not working. Well, it's working, but for some reason it's not tracking his changes. I have 2 simple changes it showed, and that was it. So I spoke with the attorney about that. I also spoke with Mr. Strandlin about it. He requested that the developers agreement and the attorney comments still be discussed this evening. So at this time, staff requests the city council discuss the developers agreement and either approve the DA or table it until the November 22nd meeting.
So requesting a table of developers agreement.
Excuse me?
Do we want to discuss this now? I was not clear.
Yes, yes. If there was some discussion points with, I know the developer wanted to discuss it and also the city attorney.
Do you want to start?
No, you got the changes, I don't know what they are.
Fair
Surprise.
enough. Mayor and council members, I received the development agreement last week, worked through it, provided my comments and suggested changes to staff on Friday. We attempted to discuss it today, but unfortunately we're having a technology issue that prevented the final copy from being before you tonight. I believe the changes are fairly minor and not to be necessarily unexpected, but I think it enhances the agreement and is beneficial to the city. So I would be recommending that the modified version be approval. Obviously, council doesn't have the benefit of that in front of them. Again, it's not a substantial change from the one that exists, but there are some provisions in there I would take out, some I would add. For example, an indemnification provision in there for the city that doesn't exist in the agreement. I've added into the development agreement as I've amended it. There's some provisions there related to assessments that I've removed to provide the developer some subsequent owners the right of appeal that they would have under the statute. So there's just some changes like that, a few verbiage changes about permission to enter the property as opposed to the plat, things of that nature. None of these are necessarily substantial, but significant enough that I wanted to amend the agreement. So with that, you know, it could be approved, but based on, you know, the mayor can execute it upon my approval of the final agreement and approval by the developer, or it can come before the council at the next meeting. Obviously, it's a little bit unusual to have, typically this is done simultaneous with final plat approval, but the final plat won't be released and recorded until the development agreement's executed, so.
So the document that's in our packet for tonight, is that the version that includes your comments?
It does not.
So how do we know what the changes are?
I can walk through the changes, but they're, exactly, you don't know, so it should, you know, probably.
I mean, we can't act on something.
Again, yes, so.
But the option is, we have the option of allowing Mayor Voss to,
If the council want to go that way, otherwise I can come back before the council at the next meeting. You know, I've sort of summarized a little bit what the changes are, but it's not before you right now, so.
So you're suggesting, I don't know how to say this the right way. You're suggesting council trust me in reviewing the changes that come through, and if I think they're significant enough, I won't sign it, and it'll have to come back to the next council anyway.
yep.
Correct, yeah.
Is that in a motion form? I'm
I don't
fine
know,
with
it's gonna
that.
be leap of
How's
faith
that?
by 4 council members if they trust me to read the document.
So it would be approved based on the amended development agreement, approved upon review of the city attorney, acceptance by the development, and Mayor Voss can execute for the city, or we address it on November 22nd. Either way, final plat's not gonna be released for recording until the council's, until the development agreement's been signed, so.
Steve, does it create much heartache to wait 2 weeks to get this signed?
Yeah,
Because the final plat's not gonna be signed until 2 weeks anyway, so.
because why? I mean, the final plat could be recorded as soon as this is dealt with, once the Mylars are created.
And I've signed them, yeah.
I mean, the Mylars have to be, you know, I didn't print them before the final plat approval tonight, they'll get printed. And then, it's ready, I mean, I have my letter of credit, or, you know, ready with the bank, and, it's just a matter of the development agreement being able to be signed, you know, and I don't really think I can change any of his changes, I mean, they're gonna be what he makes it. So, it's just a matter of, what's 2 more weeks thing, so. I'd prefer to have it
Okay.
behind me.
So the discussion about the cul-de-sac wings and all that, is that gonna be in a developer's agreement, or is that gonna be?
That's not in the development agreement.
But we will need to add it in there. Just a couple sentences about it.
Are we gonna have a different escrow for that?
I will need to talk to the city engineer about that.
Okay.
If that's the case, I would recommend it come back. I mean, if we're talking about changing escrow amounts and adding.
Yeah, I mean, it's, now we're past editorial edits.
Correct.
So,
And I'm not really comfortable voting in favor of something that I don't know what it says.
I agree, so. If you like, you make a motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table. Do I have to say the?
I'll second the motion, assume till the next council meeting, I assume.
Yes,
Suzanne?
November 22nd.
Okay. On the motion to table, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
You said aye? Yeah. Okay, so that motion passes, it's tabled to November 22nd. And if we can get a red line version, it's always helpful, so. All right. On to item 7G1, Anoka County Broadband Grant.
This topic was discussed at our work meeting last Monday on November the 1st. The program was described, the city would be eligible for $150,000 in grant money from the county, which would be on a 50-50 matching basis. There were some questions from council regarding the use and clarification of some of the use of the funds. The questions were an explanation as to the grant eligibility covering total project costs or only the aid to construction, what our contractual options were with Midco. And another one that we added to was the use of grant funds to cover Finley Engineering's costs for our broadband internet improvement plan. I forwarded these questions to the county last Tuesday. They were forwarded to another department. I contacted the county on Friday, hearing no response. I called them twice today and emailed them with no response. So we haven't had that feedback yet from the county. So if you want to, we can table this till we get that information and address this on the November 25th City Council meeting.
I'll make a motion
22nd.
to, I'll make a motion to table this till the November 22nd City Council meeting for lack of information.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to table, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Okay, on the staff report.
I have nothing else to add.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. Council reports, Suzanne.
I just attended a planning commission and we went over everything, and so that's all I have.
Okay, Tim.
We had our watershed meeting November 4th. We've got the JPA ready to go. I think it'll be coming before the council here, either November or early December, for comments from the council. And secondly, I got a question from Chris. Somebody had brought up at the town hall meeting, why do people have to give their name and address when they come up to the podium? Because somebody had said that they received like threatening, is there something that why they have to give their name and?
Or they did not speak up because they thought that they may receive threatening or retribution.
Well, this particular person had dog poop put in her mailbox too.
But I mean, do they have to, is there something that they have to give their name and address when they come up?
It's, the rules of the public forum are set by the council, so, these are the rules that we have set, time limits, name and address, things of that nature. Also, it allows people to determine whether or not the comments are coming from residents or from outside the city, so.
Okay.
Those are some of the reasons, but the rules for the public forum are set by the council and can be amended however.
What about like at the hearings?
At the hearings?
Yeah,
Yeah, same, Mr. Mayor.
so it's our discretion.
Correct.
Okay.
So if we had names and addresses wrote down and submitted to staff, just having them say their name would be effective enough.
Yeah, I think I don't think we'll say introduce yourselves, I guess, would be the way to do it, so.
If you know somebody's name, you can find their address in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
And they put their address on that paper they signed, don't they?
Yeah.
So
And we
Well, I
do
think
need
it-
to know their name.
well, I think the idea is to put it in
Yeah.
context of where they're at, that's
Yeah.
the idea why we asked for it, so. But there's no legal requirements that we're.
No legal requirements. I would just add that the sign-in sheet would be a publicly available document in case anyone wanted to request it.
Okay.
So they get it regardless, they can get it regardless.
Well, that'd be just the public forum, but yeah.
Correct.
So, okay. Well, let's put it on the low priority list for next work meeting on
Okay.
what we do about it.
We'll discuss it.
I think it's a short discussion there, so.
That's all I've got.
Okay, Wanda.
All I've got is, I want us to remember our veterans on Thursday. On a personal note, I'm humbled, my freedoms are here, and they come at the expense of those who served and their families. And just remember them, their sacrifices.
And City Hall will be closed that day.
Correct.
good point.
Okay, Brian?
I have nothing, just echo Wanda's statement. The people that go to fight for our freedoms. And, having veterans in my family and having them tell me stories of World War II, it's pretty incredible. Some of those stories, you wouldn't expect it. So, that's all I have.
I just have one question. At the last council meeting at public forum, there's a resident on East Front there was some discussion about code enforcement, whatever, and is there anything followed up with that?
Tina Riley,
Yes.
yes, I had a discussion with her, and I went over the fence stuff. I still have to get some information back to her. I corresponded with her earlier, or on Friday, or this morning. I'll have to check and see about the setback issues. From what I've been able to determine so far, all the setback issues have been met. I think her biggest complaint was that where she is in her bedroom in her second floor, when she looks out, she sees the neighbor's shed there that wasn't previously there before. The neighbor did have to move the shed back, and it did not meet the impervious requirements, so they had to take out 100 square feet of sidewalk or patio or whatever they had to meet those. So
Okay.
I've still got one other thing to check, and I told her that I would be in contact with her by the end of this week.
Okay, I just wanted,
Yeah.
make sure that was being followed up on, so. And that is all I have. And Mr. Nelson?
Thank you, Mayor Voss. For the record and the public, the City Council of the City of East Bethel will now consider going into a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3A, by which a public body may close a meeting to evaluate the performance of an individual subject to this authority. In this session, the council will be evaluating the performance of the city administrator. At the next public meeting, the public body shall summarize its conclusions regarding the evaluation. After the closed session, the council will resume in open session to address the remaining items on the meeting agenda. At this time, Mr. Mayor, a motion can be made to close the meeting pursuant to 13D.05 Subdivision 3A.
Make a motion, go into closed session for the reasons the city attorney has indicated.
Second.
Motion made, second discussion. Hearing none. To the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. We shall return.